Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you my overview of the Tamron trilogy / trinity of fast zoom lenses, including the 16 to 30 millimeter f2.8 G2, 28 to 75 millimeter f2.8 G2, and then the 70 to 180 millimeter f2.8 G2 that I just reviewed just a couple of weeks ago. Now, while I've reviewed all three of these lenses previously over the last around 4 years on Sony E-mount, they have now all finally arrived on Nikon Z-mount. Not all at the same time, but one after another. And so I'm looking at the whole series. If they are a legitimate alternative for those of you that are looking for a series of f2.8 zooms, and maybe you don't have the same kind of budget that would go all the way to the high-end, very good but very expensive S-line lenses from Nikon itself. And so today I'm going to give you just an overview of the performance, what the features look like, the autofocus and video performance, and then of course a brief look at the optical performance as well. And we're going to determine whether or not these lenses they hold up in the transition, first of all, to Z-mount, but also if they are good options for you if you are looking for zooms that fall into these particular categories. And so all of the three of these lenses were loaned to me by Tamron USA. However, they have had no input on these reviews. As always, it is a completely independent review. We're going to jump in and take a look at the performance now. All right, let's talk about the kind of build and features, what you're going to get with each one of these lenses. So first of all, in terms of price, 16 to 30 is $929 US currently. The 28-75 is the least expensive at $849 US, and then most expensive is the 70 to 180 millimeter, which is $1,149 US. All three of these lenses do have very similar levels of build. They have a similar kind of sculpted look to them, similar feel to the various rings that are on them. These would be on the nicer side of what I would call a mid-level of build quality here. So they're largely engineered plastics in the frame, so it doesn't feel like high-end metal construction that you're going to see, probably not the same degree you're going to see on the highest-end S-line lenses, but not far off that either. All three of them have a thorough weather sealing to them, starting with a gasket at the rear mount, internal seals throughout, flooring coating on the front element, so ready for professional grade use. As far as the feature set, all of them are pretty similar in that they have a function button and then which is programmable, and then of course there is a USB-C port that will allow you to really control the function of that. It also allows you to tweak other behavior as far as the behavior of the focus ring, and on here on Nikon that ring it does operate as a customizable control ring. And so for example, one of the things that I like to do is I will set the ring up in camera to function as an aperture ring, and then I'll program the function button to function as AF/MF. And so if I click that, then I can immediately focus with the ring. And so it allows me to get kind of the dual function out of that ring very easily. One exception to this is on the 70 to 180 millimeter. It has a custom switch with 3 different positions. And so rather than having just one function you can assign to that, you can actually assign 3 functions to it. It's useful, and I do like the customizable control here that we have. I would prefer a more conventional control structure, in terms of aperture ring and AF/MF switch on there, but Tamron has elected to go a different route on that. Now, all of these 3 lenses, 2 of them, to the 28 to 75 and 70 to 180, they are externally zooming, and so it's not a long zoom, but there is an external zoom to it. That's part of what allows them to be a little bit more compact in their retracted mode. The 16 to 30 is the exception to that rule. It is an internally zooming lens, and so while all 3 of them zoom relatively smoothly, it is the 16 to 30 as an internally zoom that is the most desirable in that quality there. All 3 of them share a 6-7 millimeter front filter thread. That's a priority for Tamron in the vast majority of their mirrorless releases, and so great that you can buy one set of filters and share it across all 3 lenses. That's great. And each one of these lenses is smaller and lighter than the alternatives. At the same time, to be fair, they also will often have a little bit more constrained a zoom range relative to the lens they compete with. For example, the 28 to 75, instead of it being a 24 to 70 millimeter, it doesn't go quite as wide. And it goes a little bit longer, but that's an easier zoom range to engineer for than what 24 to 70 is. And so, part of the reason why they achieve that, 70 to 180 millimeter instead of 70 to 200 millimeters. And so just be aware of that. And I will note one other caveat, and for the 70 to 180 millimeter, its main limitation here on Nikon is that it is not compatible with teleconverters, whereas the Nikkor 70 to 180 millimeter, it is compatible with Nikkor's teleconverters. And so, but that's about the only way that that older Nikkor lens competes with this one. This is updated in pretty much every area, including autofocus. Let's talk about that. So let's talk autofocus. Now, all three of the original Tamron G1 lenses on Sony, and then of course the Nikkor branded 17 to 28, 28 to 75, and 70 to 180 millimeter kind of rebranded Tamron lenses and a hush-hush, wink-wink configuration. But all of those used an STM type focus motor. Tamron called it RXD, it's just called STM in the Nikkor lenses. But in this case, all three of these G2 lenses are using Tamron's higher end VXD focus motor, and that stands for Voice Coil Extreme Torque Drive. And so it is a higher thrust, linear style motor that is quieter and smoother in operation. And as you can see here from these various tests, all three of these lenses are nice and snappy in terms of autofocus speed. I would say, if anything, they all felt very much like using a Nikkor lens on my Nikon Z-8. There was that same degree of confidence and smoothness. It didn't feel like a third-party lens that's trying to figure out focus algorithms, but it felt very natural and at home for stills work. I would say that the 16 to 30 and 28 to 75 were pretty much perfect in all the situations that I used them in, whether it was my outdoor style shooting or for events or things like that. With the 70 to 180 millimeter, I had mostly excellent results. I was able to track birds in flight, for example, and had no problem with tracking. And I do love that here on Nikon, there is no limitation on burst speed, for example. And so I was able to shoot at the full up to 30 frames per second on my Z8, which is fantastic, and was able to get good results using that. However, at the same time, with the 70 to 180, I did feel like there was a couple of occasions where a focus was just very slightly off, where it was, if it was a face, it was just a little bit before, a little bit after the eye in the plane of focus. But in general, autofocus was pretty excellent, and I feel like the little bit of tweaks that are there on the 70 to 180, which is the newest one released here, could probably be smoothed out with a firmware update and to get to just all-around excellent performance, which is what I'm seeing from the 16 to 30 and 28 to 75 millimeter G2 lenses. In general, however, I would say for a third-party zoom, you're probably not going to get better autofocus than what these three lenses offer. Now, let's talk about video autofocus. State of play here on Nikon is that I would say video autofocus generally is just not quite as good as either Sony or Canon at this point. It's making progress and moving in the right direction. And in many situations, obviously all of these outdoor segments, with any of these lenses that I've used them, autofocus is great, no problems there. However, there are a couple of things that I do want to delineate as a part of this. All of these Tamron zooms, I would say that autofocus for video is mostly excellent. When it comes to touch to focus, focus pulls back and forth, that's one of the areas where there's a little sophistication needed on Nikon. And so most of those were pretty good. Probably the least of those would be the 70 to 180 at a longer focal length. There's just a little bit more burbles along the way and pulses as a part of that process. I found when doing my hand test, where I block and then remove my hand, it was give and take a bit. Some of them worked, like 16 to 30 was fantastic. 28 to 75, there was a reluctance to transition in some cases, and even when approaching the camera. For example, I tested just here today on the 28 to 75 millimeter, which I'm filming with at the moment, and I found that when I approached the camera and then I ducked down out of frame or I stepped out of the side frame, I saw the same thing I saw with the 70 to 180 millimeter, which was essentially that it just kind of waited. It was very slow to react. And so when I stepped back in frame, I was basically in focus already because focus had not left. But if you're looking for something intentional where you're wanting to be out of frame and you're wanting focus to go to the background, there's a little bit of sluggishness sometimes in that focus process. And so I would say in general, however, for just shooting clips, focus was stable. I've used these lenses for some of my YouTube episodes as I'm doing right now. now, no problems there. I found with all three of them that I was generally impressed with the ability to zoom them and for focus to stay stable during that process. I'm not saying that they're parfocal, but I will say that it's very hard for me to perceive focus adjustment that is taking place during any kind of zooming while shooting video. And so I liked that. It adds some versatility, and particularly a lens like the 16 to 30 millimeter, because it's internally zooming. You can really smoothly zoom that lens, but in all three cases, they zoom fairly smoothly. And so I was able to incorporate that as a part of the video process, and I was able to do that handheld in most cases. And so all of that is good. So in general, I would say autofocus is good. However, it is good up to a Nikon standard and maybe a little bit below what I would see with a native Nikkor lens, but close. I've seen, let's just say, much worse results with some other third-party brands here on my Nikon Z8. One other thing that I will add to the video autofocus area is that with all of these lenses, I did test doing an aperture rack and sometimes incorporating both a flare shot with an aperture rack to show you the different quality of the flare at different aperture values. I do like the fact that here on Nikon with that customizable control ring, you can control that as an aperture ring and thus get those aperture racks, something I couldn't do previously on Sony. So great on that front. Good news there. So let's talk about the image quality here. And in this case, I'm just going to give you a quick overview because I've covered all of these lenses thoroughly previously, and you can find my individual reviews on, at least on Sony, and in the case of the 70-180 here on Nikon, you can find those linked in the description down below. Each one of these lenses is very competitive in terms of sharpness and contrast. And if you're comparing to an equivalent Nikkor product, even when you're comparing to the higher end S line, they're not quite as sharp, but they are not radically less sharp. These are all very high performing lenses that have stood up against, in both of the platforms where I've tested them, they hold up very well against first party competition. And so I don't know that anybody's going to be truly disappointed with the amount of sharpness and contrast you can get out of these Tamron zooms here. I would say that each one of them also has a little bit more flare issues than what is optimal for me. I do like Tamron's B-Bar 2 coatings, but I would say that on these zooms, there's moments where I would like a little bit more flare resistance. And particularly with the 16 to 30 and the 28 to 75, these are lenses that you're more likely, because they have a wider focal length, to actually have sun in the frame. And I would not point to that as being an strength for these lenses, but a bit of a weakness for them. All of them do have some distortion, and here on Nikon they have a bit more vignette than what I saw on Sony E-mount, but in neither case is it to any kind of significant level. And of course the fact that they constrain the zoom sometimes and don't go as extreme with them allows them to moderate the amount of vignette. And in all cases here it is not bad relative to competing lenses that I have tested before. I will also note that all three of them receive full support in camera for corrections, whether that be for JPEGs or for video, and so that further extends their usefulness. One thing that stands out to me for all three of these lenses is they exhibit really beautiful color and very nice bokeh. And I would say that that is a strength for all of them. And in the G2 versions, I found definite improvements on all three lenses relative to the first generation lenses. And since those Nikkor lenses that I've mentioned, 17 to 28 millimeter, 28 to 75, 70 to 180, since those were all those Tamron optical designs, these are all going to be improved in the smoothness and the quality of the bokeh. I also feel like the colors are richer in the G2 versions. The optical glass and the coatings has improved a bit to where I did find more of just a general pop to images that I didn't see in the first generation of the lenses. All three of them also have very useful levels of magnification. You're typically going to access that on the wide end, and where you're going to get your highest level of magnification, but they are all very competitive in that regard. And for example, here with this shot with the 16 to 30 millimeter, you can see I can get very close to the subject and get a very high level of magnification with still very sharp looking end results. So all of that is really good. The 16 to 30 and then the 70 to 180 millimeter, I feel like they have very good chromatic aberration control. Very low levels of fringing. I noticed the most fringing with the 28 to 75 millimeter, but I also noted at the same time, which is sometimes a trade-off when there's a bit of fringing. The bokeh rendering is, kind of a little extra special for a lens in this category, a zoom in this category. And so there's some give and take there, but you will notice a bit of fringing, particularly after the plane of focus with the 28-75 that you won't see on either one of the other two. I would say in summation that all three of them are very competitive optically, and I suspect that everyone who uses them is going to find that they are pleased with the kind of images they can get out of these lenses. And that leads me to my conclusion, because the fact that these are competitive optically and also now on the autofocus end of things with more expensive lenses really makes them a very intriguing option from a value perspective. I noted that you could buy all three of these lenses, the 16-30, the 28-75, and the 70-180 for just $28 US more than the 70-200 S-line lens alone. And that is, roughly similar for some of the competing lenses, like the new 24-70 Mark II from Nikkor. Those lenses, they're great, but they are very expensive. So if you're someone who's on a tighter budget and you're looking for professional grade zooms, these are going to be a really intriguing option for you. And certainly you could buy any two of these lenses for far less than any one of the equivalent Nikkor lenses. And so that is, I think, going to be a really, really compelling value. I think these are great additions to Nikon because of the strong performance, better autofocus, more features than the original Nikkor branded Tamron zooms, and are a solid upgrade in some cases. If you're happy with what you have already, continue to use it. But certainly as a level of competition, these are great additions to the market. Again, if you want more information, feel free to check out the linked reviews in the description down below, and there's some buying links there. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.